today from the site of the Sedimentary Copper Project is the CEO of Critical Mineral Resources, Charlie Long. Charlie, thank you for taking the time to speak to us from site. How are you?
Very well. Yeah, nice to see you. We're out here, luckily in the clouds, because it's pretty hot out in Morocco at the moment. And I just wanted to just show you some rocks, and we know, well, you know, we put out a few videos on Zone 1 and Zone 3. And we decided to come to Zone 2, and Noureddine is just going to show some of the rocks, which are quite significant, and then I'll talk a bit about strategy after that. So I'm going to pass my phone over to Noureddine, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So this is Noureddine Sabraoui, the COO of Critical Mineral Resources. Thank you, Noureddine, for taking the time. Tell us about the rocks then. I know they're similar from talking to Charlie before with the rocks at Tizert, which is, of course, where they've got 13 million tonnes at circa 1% copper. So tell us about the rocks. Show us them if you can.
Okay, so I'm going to turn the phone so I can show you what I'm looking at. So here we're at the copper structure. You can see it's around 4 meters in width. We're starting with a conglomerate at the base, and then we go to the small limestone, or what we call the petit calcaire, and then we go to silt stone, and then to limestone, proper limestone. You see that this stratigraphy is basically analog to the copper project in Tizert. So probably the same stratigraphy. Although it's 50 kilometers west of us. We have here Zone 2, which its extent, if you can see, there's an extension to it. All this pale limestone. And you go all the way where you can see it's Zone 2 collided with Zone 1. And there's Zone 1, if you can see it, at the top of that mountain. Here, as Charlie mentioned before, we have the connection with the power lines. We have the highway across the property. And then we have this way, the extension of Zone 2. You can see at the top of the mountain, we're still doing some trenches in there, in some platforms for drilling. So yeah, so between Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3, which is 8 kilometers south of us, it's the same stratigraphy. Everything is the same mineralization. The depth can vary from 1 meter to 20 meters. I think now we have to speak about Zone 2, because we already speak about Zone 1 and Zone 3 in different videos. Now I'll pass you, Charlie, to carry on with you.
Sure. Thank you, Noureddine, for your time.
Yeah, hi, Mark. I was just going to add to that. So Tizert's 130 million tonnes at just under 1%. So there's sort of in excess of 1 million tonnes of contained copper there. And you know, we've got the same rocks, and one of the geologists that's with us worked at Tizert, so we know what he's a professor of geology, and he worked at Tizert, so we know what we've got in terms of geology, and the trenching has told us what the grades are, and I think I was just going to say that, you know, people have been waiting for us to name the project and put a map out there and stuff like that, and that's very soon. I would say I'd just stick with very soon. You know, we've been out here this week just planning the drill program, but also negotiating with people on some final purchases of permits in this area, in the sort of immediate vicinity. Plus we've signed some documents that we basically needed to do to get our first shares in the joint venture agreement, or in the joint venture SPV, before we could announce the deal. So there's a lot of admin and sort of lengthy negotiations and stuff before you know, in this project, before we've got to the point where we can sort of disclose it. But that's going to happen very soon, and then very shortly after that we'll be drilling. So that's imminent too. So so all's going well. Rocks look good, and progress on the ground. Appreciate there hasn't been a huge amount of announcements, but we're not sitting on our backsides doing nothing. We're moving forwards. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're almost ready to, as you say, announce that name, the location, the maps, etc., and really start to talk about it once you get everything sort of tied off. Just two last questions. Is it safe to say at this stage that the geology is very similar to Tizert, so that would suggest that the mineralization is similar and continues part of the same system?
Yeah, I mean, I think geology, just generally, the way geology works is it tends to go for long distances, large distances. Not always the case, but yeah. So the age of the rocks, the name, this is called the Tamju limestone behind me, and then there's a little silty layer of limestone, and then you go into the Adadunian rocks. So it's exactly the same sequence. So there's no question about that. Grades will be disclosed firstly in the trenching when we announce the trench results that have already been done, but then when we start drilling it. So let's just sort of wait and see on that. But obviously we're quietly confident.
Sure.
And I just wanted to mention, when the announcement comes out, there's going to be a map, and I just wanted to make it clear that that's our initial footprint, and we have, we're going to be increasing that footprint over the sort of months ahead.
Okay.
But it's already in good shape. But it's going to get better.
Okay. And just finally then, Charlie, what's the main objective of being on site now, apart from sort of looking at the rocks, which are obviously very nice to see? What do you want to come away from the site visit having achieved?
Well, I think, as I sort of mentioned briefly, I had to sign a share transfer document, so that, putting out announcements on projects which are quite important for Morocco, there's a lot of stakeholders involved, and it was asked, politely, that although we have a definitive joint venture agreement in place, to actually sign those share transfer forms. And so that's the main reason I came out, but also, as I said, negotiating on a property and doing videos like this, because, we're going to be creating as much content, good quality content, as possible going forwards.
Good. Well, thank you for taking the time. It seems like things are really getting started. So looking forward to following that. As you say, the drills can start turning hopefully soon, another big milestone point for the company. So I'm looking forward to speaking to you then. But Charlie Long and Noureddine Sabraoui, thank you very much for your time from Critical Mineral Resources.
That's a pleasure. Thanks, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at StockBoxMedia.com. Thank you for watching.